So yeah, moving on to Citrix Analytics. I know we're running a bit behind, so I'll try and consolidate it a bit. So when you look back at the kind of Citrix security stack or Citrix technology stack, analytics sits right here at the bottom, and it's kind of key across all of these different technologies. And why it's important is it provides insights into performance, security, and usage of the workspace before the user logs a call. And this is where, Citrix Analytics becomes an extended member of the team, alerting you proactively and taking remedial action based on guardrails that you put in place, and providing historical as well as real-time meaningful visibility into your services. From a security perspective, we take a zero trust approach. We're continuously monitoring user behavior and adjusting their risk score based on their actions. We take preventative actions in our closed loop system so that the organization is protected from threats, both external and internal. With performance analytics, we generate a user experience score for each user and provide recommendations on how to resolve the challenges that users might be facing. And usage analytics provides the organization with insight into what users are using in the workspace so that it can be continuously adjusted to be more relevant to the workforce. Our goal of this analytics is to give IT the right information at the right time, really using the power of cloud AI and machine learning to sort through the noise. We do this by collecting data from all of our different points of presence. And, we've discussed some of these on the call today, things like SD-WAN, our virtualization technologies, our ADCs, our endpoint management, our content collaboration. And then we kind of distill that down and correlate it based on user content, apps, and infrastructure. And then what we do is we take that and then generate insights and recommendations based on the data that we have available. Jumping right into Citrix Analytics for performance, the state of monitoring, and I'm sure this probably rings true for many organizations, from an admin perspective, everything's going along well and there doesn't appear to be any issues. But then on the user side, the building's burning down. And this is often the situation with having too much data, not having the right data at the right time. And, to IT, everything looks good, but then to the users, it's a very different experience. With Citrix Analytics, we provide a simplified workflow. So, we scan for poor user experience. We provide recommendations and insights into what's causing that experience and how to remediate it. Changes are then made, and then we verify that impact with the UX score, and the process continues. So we're constantly monitoring that user experience, and that gives us a really good way of understanding what impact changes that we make in the environment are having on the user experience of the users in a very simplified way. When we look at Citrix Analytics for security, again, we take insights from all of our different points of presence, and we collect that data, generate insights. But the difference is we can then automatically take actions in our different points of presence. And these actions could be as simple as sending the user a notification to ask them if they are the one logging in from a new location on a new device and asking them to verify. Or it could be as hard as locking down the user from accessing the solution if we detect that there's enough risk indicators suggesting that there's a malicious attack. And what this does is it protects us in two ways. It protects us from malicious users. It may potentially a user's credentials have been compromised, and now someone else is using that user's credentials, or even an ignorant user where they've lost their laptop or written their password down on a piece of paper and someone else has found it. It gives us the ability to understand in each of these scenarios where the risks might be coming from. digging into some of the different capabilities, with our virtualization technologies, we can record the session of the user and play it back later or in real time. This is extremely useful to understand what the user did, and it's typically used for troubleshooting, compliance, and investigations. This can be enabled for a group of users or for a specific application or desktop as an example. But this could also lead to hours of recordings, which administrators need to troll through to find relevant events, which could also lead to a large amount of storage and unnecessary recordings. With Citrix Analytics, we can intelligently start and stop recordings based on a risk or a profile or a custom indicator that we've configured. And we then also provide the administrator with a point-in-time reference that correlates to that event. So that saves the administrator's time. It allows for the investigation to quickly determine if there's an issue. So we can, more quickly get to the bottom of, is this a malicious attempt at the organization, or is it just, an anomaly? We also provide like an access assurance dashboard, which provides visibility into locations where users are connecting from. So we can define geofences to alert or take actions if the geofence is breached, as an example, and use this to raise the user's risk score or lock them out of the workspace completely. And this is really useful. You kind of get this world map view, and you can see all the locations that users are logging on from. So very, very quickly, you can see, is there someone or a group of users logging on from a location where they shouldn't be, which is a very useful information to have. And we can also get insights into the locations where the users are logging on from, like cities, and even filter reports by, city name or country to see, the users, the devices, and the applications that are being used in those locations. We've also got out-of-the-box risk indicators that come with the solution. So when it's turned on, it starts collecting those risk indicators. Or users can actually, or customers can go and create their own custom risks, which will then, be aligned to their own security requirements. And as a result, the user is very easy to turn on, but it's also highly customizable. And I thought I'd just give you a little example of how this works. We could have a scenario where there's a call center agent, and they typically work from home. And in that scenario, there's no risk. We understand this is the profile of the user. This is how they typically work. We're not going to raise any alerts. But all of a sudden, one day, the user logs on from a new location. Maybe they're logging on from Europe, and they start using the workspace in a different way. Maybe they're logging onto different applications. They're opening up different files. They're logging on at unusual times. So there we might trigger session recording as an example. And, then we also start noticing that the users, they would typically only copy about 10 megs of data. But today the user's gone over the 10 megs, and this is very unusual based on their typical profile. So there we can configure an automated action to actually disable the user's account so that they can no longer download files and block them from accessing their applications and desktops. So that's just a very simple environment. And the really nice thing about the solution is it's what we call closed loop. So because we own all the technologies that deliver the applications and the files and what the user is using in the workspace, plus the analytics can actually take action on the services that are delivering those applications. So there's no need to integrate with third party or go and manually lock users out. It can actually do it automatically. And just one last point on the analytics, and it's really what John touched on earlier. The reason we need to be a lot more agile with our kind of security and performance and usage-based analytics is, the world is changing very quickly. What users need and the risk and even their own circumstances is changing very dynamically, and we need to be able to identify where those changes are coming in, what they are, and how to address it. And really, that's the point of security analytics and bringing all of our Citrix technologies into that picture.